A few years ago, I became a grandma. It was one of the most amazing times of my life. I spent around 3 days in the hospital, just me and my daughter, while she was in labour, and we had many conversations during that time. And one of the conversations really stood out to me. She said to me, "Mum, how do you do this? How do you be a parent?" And I remember saying to her, "It doesn't come with a rule book. You know, you can only do the best you can at the time with the version of you that you are." And that conversation that we had stuck in my mind for months. And it made me think about all the versions of me, the version I am today and the past versions, but not as a parent, but as a deaf woman. So I'm deaf. And I never thought that I could ever use that word deaf. Without these hearing devices, I can't hear nothing. And the reason I felt like that word deaf was never mine to use was because of the conditioning that the world made me feel. Growing up, I never had anyone around me that looked like me. I remember conversations at school. People would say, "You're not deaf, you can talk. Deaf people can't talk." At home, people would say, "You're not deaf, you've got hearing aids. Deaf people don't wear hearing aids." I was told deaf people can't drive, deaf people can't thrive. I remember going through the checkout once and I was, packing my shopping. The checkout lady said something to me and I misheard. And I found myself apologising. She said, "Oh, you don't look deaf." So where did that leave me? So I wasn't born deaf. I lost my hearing due to mumps. And it was a gradual loss that got worse as I got older. And I wasn't just navigating deafness, I was also a young person in foster care with trauma. Foster care for me was really hard. I often felt like my voice didn't matter. People with parental responsibility and social workers would make decisions, and I felt like I wasn't heard. So when you're navigating that as a young person, and you're also navigating your hearing loss, I had such struggles with my mental health, my identity. I really didn't know where I was or where I belonged. Becoming a teenage mom, 1 foot in the deaf world, 1 foot out, never fully belonging in either. Things started to change when my dad took me to a private audiologist. And for the first time in my life, I had something which was hope. I found out that I was potentially a candidate for cochlear implant surgery, and I had that surgery in December 2022. That cochlear implant surgery changed my life in more ways than one. First, it gave me access to sounds I'd never heard before in my life, such as the birds singing, the rain on my window, my dog's nails clicking on the floor. Who knew the Sky remote made a sound when you clicked it? But my most favourite sound of all is my granddaughter breathing when she's asleep, when she stays over. But it didn't just give me access to sound, it gave me a massive sense of belonging, because 6 months after my surgery, I had a wonderful opportunity to become a mentor for the company that manufactured my cochlear implant and helping others on that journey, being that person that I needed. I remember being invited to the first mentor event I'd ever been to, and I was surrounded by lots of people who had a cochlear implant or they were audiologists, people who just got it. I didn't have to explain myself, and for the first time I actually felt like I belong here. So I started to fully embrace, that shifted in me, something in me. I started to fully embrace my identity, who I was, and stop apologising. I've trained in martial arts for years, and the biggest lesson I've learned is that you can't win a fight if you're playing by somebody else's rules, and that's exactly what I'd been doing all my life, trying to fit myself into a box. I wasn't fully living who I was. So I began such a self-awareness journey, even training as a therapist myself. I combine holistic therapy with traditional therapy and Eastern wisdom, which led me to something so healing and life-changing. Kintsugi. Kintsugi is a Japanese art. When a bowl or a piece of pottery is broke, they don't throw it away, they repair it with gold, making the cracks the most beautiful part of the piece. Because for so long, I thought I was broken by my deafness, broken by my trauma, broken by everything that life threw at me. But Kintsugi taught me something different. I wasn't broken. Those cracks, that gold of mine, they're the most beautiful part of me. That's self-love. That's healing. That's owning your story instead of letting the world write it for you. We absorb so much from the world, from school, workplaces, family, trauma, relationships, and somewhere along the line we forget to ask, is this really me? Or is this what I was conditioned to be? Are these my values? Are these my beliefs? But the truth is, it's never too late to discover who you are, to own your identity, your deafness, your disability. So I'll ask you the same question that I asked myself. How do you deaf? Because whatever your answer is, make sure it's truly yours. Thank you.